793 AD. Cautious monks gather outside the monastery of the quiet Isle of Lindisfarne. A fleet of red-striped dragon longboats approach just beyond the coast. The sound of waves is drowned out by the chanting of Norsemen. Upon one of these boats sits a chieftain, commanding an army of fierce pagan warriors, bearded men equipped with axes, spears, and shields. Men whose loyalty was ultimately bought by the promise of riches. The Viking forces swarm the isle, and blood of nearly defenseless monks coats the graves surrounding the monastery. Quickly, the armored brutes splinter the doors, gut and burn the chapels, hauling away chests of relics and jewels. Many surviving monks are captured. Just as swiftly as they arrived, the Vikings load their ships to the brim with stolen goods, men and women to be sold as slaves. Medieval chroniclers mark this as a direct punishment from God and an attack on Christianity. The Vikings have made their presence known. The Vikings set off back to their homeland of Scandinavia, including territories that would eventually come to form the kingdoms of Denmark, Sweden, and Norway. The spoils of war were divided amongst those who participated. Some would bury their loot, as was a Norse tradition, others would opt to trade. Vikings were traders, traveling across Europe and even into the Black Sea, liquidating their findings and purchasing delicacies that were foreign to Scandinavia, such as silk, wine, jewelry, and glass. The Vikings would eventually develop multiple trading settlements throughout the Baltic, and even upriver into modern-day Russia. Trading slowly became the Vikings' largest source of income. As raid targets developed defensive action against them, it made raiding a less frequent occurrence over time. The Vikings would eventually set out to find new lands, reaching a large island they dubbed Snaeland, or Iceland. Historians say they traveled further and even had small settlements in modern-day Greenland and coastal Canada. The Vikings were a culture of people who belonged on the sea. Much of their belief of warfare and power stemmed from Norse mythology. The Vikings formed a strict set of laws. Ironically enough, stealing resulted in the harshest punishment among their own group. It was said that the warrior culture was materialist. They would name everything they owned, from weapons to jewelry and ships. There's a lot we don't know about these pirate Norsemen. Although their pillaging ended close to the start of the 11th century as Scandinavian kingdoms converted into Catholicism, and Viking culture alongside the Norse belief was being absorbed into Catholic Europe. By the 13th century, the Vikings are no longer, but the tale of them still exists throughout the greater European continent as just another piece of history.